Hello, dear community. Today, I have the pleasure to interview Patrick Chun. I've known Patrick since 2016, first via Skype, then we met in Mexico at the conference of Image consultants. Well, Patrick is the executive director of IITTI, short of International Image and Etiquette Standards, from which I am an associate. Patrick is from Canada, but he has lived for 3 years in China. So based on his bicultural experience, he will share with us 2 recommendations that we should keep in mind when doing business or negotiating with Canadian and Chinese people. Patrick, the show is all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Viviana. Hi, everybody. I'm Patrick Chun, like Viviana was saying. For one thing, if you come to Canada to do business, one thing that I think you got to remember, there is a difference between Canadians and Americans. Canada is to the north and United States is to the south. The reason why there's Canada is because people in Canada didn't want to be Americans. That was the history. And so just by that, people who didn't want to be Americans, they moved north. And people who want to be Americans, they moved south. So there's the American and Canadians. That was about 200 years ago. But you can still see a lot of the traits, the personality of people there. In the States, the reason why they are Americans is because they didn't want to have the British. They kicked the British out. That was 200-300 years ago. And so they're very independent. They're very open-minded. They're very friendly. They love to help people. That's the Americans. In Canada, people they want to be part of the British, or that's why they didn't want to be Americans. So they are very conforming. They didn't want to cause a lot of trouble. They want to, they're very polite, very British-like. So that is one part of Canada. Now, there's also a good part of French in Canada as well. And so there's the French Canada and the English-speaking British Canada, if you may. And depending on who you speak to, the English-speaking, they call them Anglo-Canadian versus French-Canadian. The Anglo-Canadians are also quite different from the French-Canadian. I lived with the French-Canadian for a number of years working there. And the French-Canadians are mostly Catholic. And so historically, they're very religious. And they were very much into group activity. So when I was working there, and I was by myself, and the French Canadian would say, "Oh, hey, Patrick, come on over. We're going to watch a baseball game." At that time, there were Expo, the baseball team. And so that's the French Canadian. English Canadian, on the other hand, much more individualistic. So they would go out like with their wives or girlfriend or boyfriend and so on. They wouldn't have a lot of group activity per se. So those are kind of differences between that two.
So you are Anglo-Canadian. You are Anglo-Canadian.
I am Anglo-Canadian. I speak English more than I speak French. If I speak French, they would know that I'm not French. So that's the situation. But French Canadians are very friendly. They are very friendly. Especially they know that you are from other parts of Canada. The young people in the French Canadian part are very curious. They want to know about the outside world, and they are not as religious, and they just want to know, oh, hey, Patrick, what is it like living in Vancouver? What is it like in Toronto, and so on. And so it's a good mix of French and English in that sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So French are more formal, or?
They are, nowadays, they are equally as informal. North America is very informal. If you are in New York and Boston area and so on, they may dress a little bit like me and so on. But if you go to the West Coast, Los Angeles, California, Vancouver, and so on, they are very informal. A CEO may come in a t-shirt and wearing jeans and sneakers. So that's the culture over on the West Coast. So that's something to know there.
What about punctuality?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What about punctuality for Canadian people?
They are very good. They usually say, well, if it is 8 o'clock, then they'll show up at 8 o'clock. That's usually the case. So there's time is very important to North American, to Canadians as well as American. So that is the situation. Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. And what about China?
China is
there are a lot of things. Okay.
Yeah. It's moving culturally very, very quickly. Economically, it's also moving very quickly. For one thing, I learned that in China, it's not just one people. You look at them and wow, they all look alike, and you go, wow, it's just one people. No, it's not. I learned that the northern Chinese versus the southern Chinese are very different. Northern Chinese usually are very direct. They would say one thing without worrying about anything, but just say what is inside, what they think. Southern Chinese are very different. Southern Chinese are very flexible. They think very in the way that how you talk, they will speak back in the same way. They're very business minded and they're very entrepreneurial. Maybe because I'm in China to do business and I see a lot of people, but I also see Northern Chinese and do business. They are very direct. They say, no, this you can't do it like this. It's just not the way. It should be do it like this. Southern Chinese would not say something like that. Southern Chinese would, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe this will be even better. So they may give you new ideas and so on. So Northern Chinese are much more procedural. They love procedure. There's this step 1, step 2, step 3. Southern Chinese, they throw the procedures away. They go, no, go from step 1 to step 4. Don't worry about step 2 and step 3. Even it's just not important. So that that's the main difference there. Second point about doing business in China, it's don't even talk about them not respecting intellectual properties, because China is changing very, very quickly. They have filed more patent with the World Patent Office than any other countries now as of 2019. That means they have companies like Huawei, Alibaba, all that. Their engineers are creating a lot of new stuff. So they want to protect their intellectual properties too. So by that extension, they're protecting all intellectual properties, regardless whether a Chinese company, a Canadian company, or Ecuadorian company. You come to China, you file a trademark, a patent, and so on. They take it very seriously now. So that's changing. That's different from even 5 years ago.
That's very interesting. And what about food? I have learned that, for example, when Chinese people offer you some tea, and if you don't want to, you have to accept, because it is not polite to say no thank you. And I have also learned that it is polite to leave food on the plate. So would you please corroborate this information?
Yeah. It's very true. You don't want to refuse. In China, you want to give them face. You want to say, oh, okay, yeah, they serve you tea. You say, yeah, you have some tea, and you try everything they serve you. Nowadays, it's a lot better. 20 years ago, I was in China building a school, and some of my teachers, being Canadians, They just say, well, no, no, thank you. I don't want. It was very embarrassing to the Chinese. They don't understand. The Chinese didn't understand what Westerners are thinking. Nowadays, it's very much better. They understand that a lot of Westerners, a no is a no, a yes is a yes. So they understand. So now the culture is also different. If you refuse, it wouldn't be a showstopper. They wouldn't just kick you out and say they never do business. They will not do anything like that now. That's it's changing very quickly. Yeah.
But it's
What was
better
the
to
second
say
question
yes.
again?
That it's polite to leave food on the plate.
They have the Chinese government actually are pushing to not leave food on the table anymore.
Wow.
It used to be the case that you always want to have some food on the table, so the host would know that, Viviana, you have enough to eat and not starving. That was the thinking back then. But now they say, no, we should not waste food. We should be sustainable. We should be environmentally friendly. And so now they have this North American culture called a doggy bag. In North America, if you have food, you can ask the waiter, say, can I have a doggy bag? So they give you a bag and you say, well, this is the food that I can take home for my dog. So that's why they call it a doggy bag. And in China, if you say you ask for a doggy bag, they say, yes, understand. so they give you a doggy bag. So it's changing very quickly. Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you, Patrick, very much. Thank you for sharing this space with me and my community, and for being part of this amazing project.
Okay, well, we'll chat again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.